Chapter 8. Your mind is your greatest asset. Internal wealth precedes external wealth. Imagine for a moment that every dollar in your bank account disappeared tomorrow. Every investment, every possession, every external symbol of success. What would remain? At first, that question may seem uncomfortable, but it reveals something important. Because while wealth can be lost, the ability to create wealth is something entirely different. One is external, the other is internal. One can disappear, the other can rebuild. And throughout history, there have been countless examples of people losing fortunes only to create new ones. Why? Because the true source of their wealth was never the money itself. The true source was the mind that created it. This chapter explores a principle that many people spend their entire lives overlooking. A principle that quietly influences every financial decision, every opportunity recognized, every risk taken, every action pursued, and every result achieved. The principle is simple. Internal wealth precedes external wealth. In other words, what happens within you eventually shapes what happens around you. Before wealth appears in your bank account, it often appears in your thinking. Before opportunities appear in your environment, they often appear in your perception. Before success becomes visible, it frequently becomes believable. This is why the mind may be the greatest asset you will ever possess. Not because it automatically creates wealth, but because it influences every behavior that creates wealth. And nowhere is this influence more powerful than in the subconscious mind. Most people spend very little time thinking about the beliefs operating beneath the surface of their awareness. Yet those beliefs often determine far more than they realize. Beliefs shape expectations. Expectations shape behavior. Behavior shapes results. Results reinforce beliefs. And the cycle continues. This creates what can be called a subconscious wealth blueprint. A subconscious wealth blueprint is the collection of assumptions, beliefs, emotional associations, and expectations you hold about money, success, opportunity, and yourself. Many of these beliefs were acquired long before you consciously chose them. They came from family, culture, education, experiences, conversations, observations, and because they were repeated often enough, they became familiar. What becomes familiar often becomes accepted, and what becomes accepted often becomes automatic. This is why two people can encounter the exact same opportunity and respond completely differently. One sees possibility, the other sees risk. One sees abundance, the other sees scarcity. One sees potential, the other sees limitation. The opportunity is the same. The blueprint is different. Pause for a moment and think about your earliest experiences with money. What did you hear growing up? What did you observe? What messages were repeated? Perhaps money was associated with struggle. Perhaps it was associated with stress. Perhaps it was associated with sacrifice. Perhaps it was associated with security. Perhaps it was associated with freedom. Whether positive or negative, those early experiences often leave lasting impressions. And those impressions quietly influence decisions years later. Here's something fascinating about the subconscious mind. It constantly seeks consistency. It wants your external experiences to match your internal beliefs. This means that if you deeply believe wealth is difficult to attain, your behavior may unconsciously reinforce that belief. If you believe opportunities are rare, you may overlook opportunities that appear. If you believe success belongs to others, you may hesitate when success becomes available to you. The subconscious mind is always attempting to create harmony between identity and experience. This is why Chapter 1 focused so heavily on identity. Because identity is not merely motivational language. Identity is practical. Identity influences behavior, and behavior influences outcomes. The wealth blueprint you carry today may be creating results you don't fully understand. This realization can feel uncomfortable. but it is also empowering. Because if beliefs shape outcomes, beliefs can be changed. And that brings us to one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal development, the concept of frequency. Many people hear the word frequency and immediately think of something mysterious, something abstract, something disconnected from daily life. But let's consider a more practical interpretation. Your frequency is often reflected through your dominant emotional state, your expectations, your self-image, and your habitual patterns of thought. It is the emotional and psychological environment from which you operate. Think about two individuals entering the same room. One expects rejection. The other expects opportunity. One expects failure. The other expects growth. One expects limitation. The other expects possibility. Even before anything happens, their experiences begin diverging. Why? Because expectations influence attention. Attention influences perception. Perception influences behavior. Behavior influences outcomes. This is one reason manifestation is so often misunderstood. Many people treat manifestation as waiting. Waiting for circumstances to change. Waiting for opportunities to appear. Waiting for reality to eventually align with their desires. But waiting is rarely transformational. Alignment is. Manifestation is often less about waiting for something to arrive and more about becoming aligned with what you intend to create. This returns us to a theme that has appeared throughout the audiobook. Be. Do. Have. Not have. Do. Be. The identity comes first. The action follows. The result emerges afterward. The challenge is that many people continue operating from their current identity while hoping for future results. They want abundance while practicing scarcity. They want confidence while rehearsing self-doubt. They want opportunity while expecting disappointment. And this creates internal conflict, because results often struggle to exceed identity for long. Think about that for a moment. How often have you desired something while simultaneously doubting it? How often have you wanted success while questioning your worthiness? How often have you hoped for abundance while expecting lack? These contradictions matter because the subconscious mind pays close attention to repetition. Whatever is repeated consistently becomes familiar. Whatever becomes familiar begins influencing behavior. This is why self-concept matters so much. Self-concept is the story you tell yourself about who you are. It is your internal definition, your personal identity. And whether accurate or inaccurate, your self-concept influences nearly everything. People often rise or fall to the level of their self-concept, not because of fate, because of behavior. Someone who sees themselves as disciplined behaves differently than someone who sees themselves as inconsistent. Someone who sees themselves as capable behaves differently than someone who sees themselves as limited. Someone who sees themselves as valuable behaves differently than someone who sees themselves as insignificant. The external results eventually reflect the internal definition, which means one of the most powerful forms of investment is investing in a new self-concept. This is where reprogramming begins, not through wishful thinking, not through denial, not through pretending, but through intentional repetition of new beliefs supported by new actions. New beliefs, new actions, new results. Remember that sequence. New beliefs, new actions, new results. The average person attempts to change results directly. The high performer changes beliefs and actions, understanding that results eventually follow. Think about learning any new skill. At first, your identity does not fully support it. You may not see yourself as a writer, a leader, an entrepreneur, an investor, a creator. Yet through repeated action, your self-concept begins evolving. Evidence accumulates. Confidence develops. Identity expands. Eventually, what once felt unfamiliar becomes natural. That is how transformation occurs. Not overnight, but gradually. One belief, one decision, one action at a time. Pause for a moment and consider this question carefully. What belief about money have I accepted without questioning? Take your time with that. What belief about money have I accepted without questioning? Perhaps you were taught that money is difficult to earn. Perhaps you were taught that wealthy people are somehow different. Perhaps you were taught that success requires constant struggle. Perhaps you were taught that opportunity is scarce. Perhaps you were taught that your circumstances determine your future. Now ask yourself another question. Is that belief absolutely true? Or has it simply been repeated often enough to feel true? This is where transformation begins. Not when a new opportunity appears, but when an old belief is challenged. Because every breakthrough is preceded by a new perspective. Every expansion begins with a new thought. Every transformation begins with a new identity. And every new identity begins with a decision. A decision to stop accepting limitations as permanent. A decision to stop defining yourself by past results. A decision to stop allowing old stories to dictate future possibilities. This is why the mind is such a powerful asset. It influences every other asset. It determines how opportunities are interpreted, how challenges are handled, how risks are evaluated, how possibilities are perceived, and perhaps most importantly, it determines what you believe is possible for yourself. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the material world. Not because thoughts magically create results, but because thoughts influence actions. Actions create evidence. Evidence shapes identity. Identity shapes destiny. Internal wealth precedes external wealth. As this understanding deepens, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop viewing circumstances as permanent. You start viewing them as temporary. You stop seeing yourself as fixed. You start seeing yourself as evolving. You stop waiting for confidence. You start building it. You stop waiting for permission. You start creating evidence. And that shift changes everything. Because the most successful people are not merely managing money. They are managing beliefs. They are managing focus. They are managing identity. They are managing the internal conditions that eventually create external outcomes. You now understand the subconscious wealth blueprint. You understand the connection between identity and frequency. You understand the power of self-concept. You understand that new beliefs create new actions, and new actions create new results. But this raises a fascinating question. If your mind creates your financial reality, if your beliefs shape your behavior, if your identity influences your destiny, then what happens when you fully trust your vision? What happens when you stop waiting for certainty? What happens when you move forward before all the evidence appears? Because there is one final barrier that prevents many people from reaching their potential. Not a lack of opportunity, not a lack of resources, not even a lack of ability, a lack of trust. You have learned to reshape your mind. Now it's time to learn how to act from belief rather than hesitation. And that brings us to the next chapter.